You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk 1150 AM. Now, back to the show with local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell.
You are listening to The Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 1st show. You can also listen to my show podcast, my Facebook premiere, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in our local market on everything regarding your money. And now in studio, Laurie Hardie of Coach Laurie, multiple streams of income, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Laurie, again, excited to have you here on my show. Back in the day, I used to see you every week. I'd come back and pop in there and see you in your studio. We'd hang out and have some girl talk because I was recording right down the hall from you. And look at me, Laurie, I've never gone back. I'm still virtual. What the heck? I miss going into Hubbard. Lots of activity over there. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, likewise, you too. So what is the advantage of multiple income streams? What does that look like?
I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
When I became a life coach, the first book I read had a section about multiple streams of income. And what I loved about it was if one thing dries up, for instance, we saw this in COVID. If you had one job and it went away, you maybe could get unemployment, but you were in trouble. And so I think it's a little different than working 7 jobs, and as a single mom, I always try to coach women to have like a job and then a side hustle, so to speak. Yeah. It could be network marketing. It could be like so many women have things that they do and they make an Etsy store and they can make money doing that. Or different, we have the ability to work online. So if we have different things we do, if one source happens to dry up, which we hope would never happen, we can still make it. And, if some people it's investing, they maybe do the stock market or they just have investments. And so I always try to encourage, especially single moms, to have more than one thing, because in the first segment, you talked about stress. When we have stress when our money is tight. And as a single mom, I remember, baseball season's coming. Am I going to have enough to get the kids, what they need for baseball? And, there are lots of scholarships and stuff, but if we can find side hustles and things that we love, and as a coach, so I teach people to become coaches. Mm-hmm. And then I am a coach. Uh-huh. And so those are two different things. I have coaching programs. And I think that it's just really important to broaden. And so for me, I'm sort of all over the place and I could do a lot at once. I mean, I can multitask. Not everybody can do that, but I still think even if you're not that kind of person, you could still have some sort of side hustle that you make a little extra money, even if it's just to stash away for hard times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember growing up back in the day when you had the Sears catalog, that's what you looked at for what you wanted for Christmas. And we couldn't pick anything that had batteries because it's, the idea of buying batteries. And, then our Happy Meal at McDonald's, we split a Happy Meal. Thank goodness I was the older sister. So you can probably guess who got the toy in the Happy Meal. I was not a nice older sister, but yeah. So if my mom had a side hustle, it definitely would have made it a little bit easier for her, for sure. So Laurie, how important is it to do what you love, to be driven by passion?
I almost feel like I could throw that back at you, Tina, because that's the connection you and I have, whether it's volunteering or, I'm so lucky because all of the things I do, I absolutely love. Like I don't have one job I hate, but the others make up for it. I love everything I do. And it changes the quality of your life when you love what you do. And to me, what the saddest thing is when someone goes, oh, I hate my job, but I get the insurance. It breaks my heart. Yeah. And I'm not one of those people that would say, my favorite podcast actually is Don't Keep Your Day Job. she talks about, doing what you love.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say drop your job and just go, transition.
You have to be
But-
smart about it.
Right. And I want to hear what you have to say too, because I feel like, you do this money hour and sometimes money can be kind of boring, but you
Uh-huh.
are so about living your passion.
Yeah, well, thank you, Laurie. I just got goosebumps when you gave me a shout out there, and I just visualized and put myself right back in that time that we spent together, because it was really a special time and definitely kindred spirits. Yeah, when you're in a place that you can come from a place of contribution, it makes a difference in other people's lives, but you have no idea the difference that it's going to make in your life. And I feel that I have received so much more from being able to come from a place of contribution. And I feel fortunate. I've done, really well in the mortgage industry, and I'm really great with my time. And so I'm able to create this space, block on my calendar, for my community outreach platform, which is everything that I do complimentary, from my time management and business efficiency coaching, personal mastery coaching, this platform right here, and showcasing people's business, sharing my story, tragedy to triumph. And so, it's important that you get into an industry that you love and you're passionate about, and then be able to take pieces out of that you can bring in and be able to contribute to other people.
One of the things I really remember is when you had decided to tell your story, but you didn't really want to. Because
Yes.
one of the things in legacy is and working with people in recovery is telling your story matters. Even if you think it's a bad story, like I used to, it was a lot of the women are like, I used to steal and I have a felony, and but I remember I was so impacted when you said you didn't really want to share your story, and then you did, and someone was going to come listen, and you're like, you didn't really want
Yeah.
them to hear your story. But what touched me so much, and I think why we connected on this level, is the power in you being so vulnerable about a time that was really difficult for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how you were able to turn it around. And think of all the women. Well, I happen to know so many of the women that you shared your story with that were coming out of drugs and alcohol, and it gave them hope.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Laurie. And yeah, it was 1995 when I started in the mortgage industry, and it wasn't until 2015 and it was because I was afraid that what real estate agent would want to send me business if they knew that I didn't graduate from high school. I had drug issues. My first husband was incarcerated. Nobody even knew that I had a daughter that died, because if I brought that up, then I would have to share my whole story. And it wasn't until Leslie Hancock over at Windermere Real Estate, a top real estate agent that I was trying to earn her business, asked me to come in and to share how to be successful in business with her nonprofit organization, the House of Hope, in Mama's Hands. And I thought, I can't drive up my Jaguar and not share my story. But the problem is Leslie Hancock was going to be there. And I had to get away out of my own way and go, you know what, I've got to be there for the women and not worry about what's going to happen for me on the other end. And that changed everything. Literally now I'm an open book, and I wouldn't have had an opportunity to put together my keynote. And thank you for being one of the first ones to get me one of my first keynotes, which then inspired me moving forward. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Get out there, do what you're passionate about, and lead with who you are, your uniqueness and your specialness, and all the things that you think might be embarrassing or that you don't want to share. Those are the things that you need to share, because when you're vulnerable, people are going to connect to your vulnerability, and then they are going to feel comfortable in sharing their most vulnerable moments as well. And that's when you're really going to be able to make a difference in someone's life. And on the other turn, it's making a difference in your life by going through that experience. So let's talk about volunteering and fitting this into your model, because Laurie, one thing that inspired me most about you was all of the volunteer work that you do. And I knew everything that you had on your plate, and being a single mom and the challenges that you had to go through in that, and still coming from a place of contribution with volunteering and your time, which time is limited, right? So share about that.
I think what you said was so great earlier. You said the surprise, you go and you give and you do. And when I was a single mom, I was volunteering at this organization, and I didn't want to tell them that for a while I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. My kids, I'd put them with relatives. And, I didn't want to tell them because same thing, I didn't want them to think bad of me, but I'm tying up bags and I'm filling up things. And they said, hey, could you recover these chairs? And I was like, who can't recover a chair? Well, they couldn't. And then they wanted to pay me. And I'm like, no. But what happened is because I was so willing to give back, I mean, I just wanted to, do something because I felt like a loser. And what happened is then they heard about this job with Big Brother, Big Sister, and they said, hey, why don't you apply for it? And I'm like, why would they hire me? Look, I'm your charity case. And, and then that worked out. And from there, doing that job just blessed my heart so much because you feel like, you see that there's a need there, but when you feel that need, you're getting almost more back. And so that's when I went and I'd already got the coaching certificate and I got a bachelor's degree. And I tell people who are unemployed, go volunteer. And they go, I can't, I gotta work at getting a job. I go, I guarantee you, if you go volunteer somewhere you love, you will get a job. Yes. And I believe that with everything in me.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it interesting? Our biggest downfall, if something's going to take us down, it's ourself. It's our own securities and the own conversations that we're having with ourselves that are just not true. And most of the time, the exact opposite of what we are thinking. So what did you learn in COVID about having options?
The other job I have here at the station, I'm so fortunate. I get to do the public affairs. So I get to highlight all of these nonprofits. And I watched every one I interviewed. Okay, it was time for all of their galas in March, April, May. And they all had to pivot. They had to figure something out. And I have always said because I do traffic in the afternoon on Warm, I always said job security because we are always going to have traffic. Guess what? There was no traffic. A lot of people got let go during COVID. And every time I'd see the boss, I'd think, this is it. And, I think that the beauty of it is realizing, number one, I had determined in my heart, if that did happen, I would be fine because I had multiple streams of income. And I always know everything works out, in the end. But that, just watching the resilience of people and the amazing ideas people came up with to pivot their galas, to do different things to make money. And one thing I love to say this about the Pacific Northwest, every charity that was local said, we are the most generous people here in the Pacific Northwest, that even during COVID, people opened their pocketbooks, people gave back, and they helped out. And that to me was just so beautiful to see that even when, a lot of times people are like, well, when I start making money, I'll give back. Yes. And I think if we give back first, I think the rest all falls into place.
It all falls into place. And I heard from a lot of nonprofit organizations that they had some of their biggest years in contribution when they were doing those virtual galas. So I have less than 2 minutes left with you, Laurie, and I would just love to give you this time just to talk to my listeners that are listening right now and what's most important in your heart to share with them.
I would say believe in yourself. Tell your story. I mean, think about Tina. Here she is in this mortgage business, afraid to tell her realtor her story. Tell your story and maybe tell it with somebody really safe, but share your story and know that somehow, some way you want to pass that down to your kids. If you want to write a book, do a podcast, do a YouTube channel, I can help you with all of that. But you can also go and watch a YouTube channel and learn how to do it. But tell your story and find a way, hire a coach. I mean, I'm a coach, but I think everybody would benefit from having a coach because they are for you. They encourage you. They build you up. They make you think you're more awesome than you think you are. And who doesn't want that?
Exactly. And they're able to look from the outside perspective and outside of your space to really see the small changes and adjustments you need to make to get to that next level of really living the life that you were designed to live. Laurie, how somebody listening to the show that right now that wants to connect with you, how do they do that?
My email address is probably best. It's Laurie, LACOACH @comcast.net, or you can find me on Facebook at Coach Laurie.
Wonderful. Laurie, thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to have a conversation with you and share it with my listeners.
Oh, ditto. Thank you.